Hooray! We're in the playoffs. Well, I mean, this is very anticlimactic considering where the Calgary Flames have been for much of the season here. But right after the end of episode 13 recording there, we had some help on the out-of-town scoreboard, so that the final 10 games of the regular season, we knew the Calgary Flames are in the 2019 Stanley Cup playoffs here. But with it being, this is the third time in past 5 seasons that the Calgary Flames have made the playoffs here. Well, keep in mind that 6 years before that, we didn't make the playoffs. So it's exciting to know that we're in the Stanley Cup playoffs here, and as we get going ahead here, there's still a couple more things to clinch here. So anyway, it's time for another episode of Hi there, it's Brett Hornby here. Welcome back to another episode of my Calgary Flames in 6. Episode number 14 here, as we'll be looking at games 73 to 78 in the 2018-19 NHL regular season when it concerns the Calgary Flames here. And as I said in the opening there, we are in the playoffs here, and it still feels like a novelty at this point because, we, as I said, this is the third time in 5 seasons since we have made the playoffs there, but we went 6 seasons there for not making the playoffs there. I mean, from 2010 to 2014 there was no playoffs, and then we had a stretch there where we made the playoffs from 2004, lost the season in 2005, and then from 6 to 9. But then we went 8 years before that. No playoffs there. Maybe I'll break down those streaks there when I do my Calgary Flames series preview when we get to there. And speaking of series preview, I'll ask this question. There'll be a couple questions that will be posed for this episode is, who do you want in the first round? And who's going to be the starting goalie for the Flames game 1, likely at home in front of the Sea of Red? Who does Bill Peters say, Mike or Dave, you're my starting goalie for game 1 here? I mean, we'll pose that question too. So let's take a look at my notes here. And of course, if you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe, and follow along with that bell icon. I know that if you're really following along, this will be my first video in over a week here, but I took a few days off from work there, so I took a little bit of a break there. But I think for in terms of my other projects here, especially the attempt at comedy and my personal vlogs there, I'm going to put those on hold until definitely after when the hockey season's over, because there's definitely a lot of hockey going on, because our junior team, the Calgary Hitmen, are also in their playoff series there, so there'll be a couple more videos there as well here, as well with the Flames here. And I call this my Calgary Flames of 6 here because I've been doing 6-game recaps here throughout the season here, but this is actually the last 6-game edition because, as I said, we're covering games 73 to 78 here. Well, there's only 4 more games off after that, so we'll do a special 4-game edition when we do the next episode, and that would be the end of the regular season, and we'll get primed up for the playoffs here. So I'm just delaying the inevitable here. So let's bring up my notes here, and I'm going to say, it was more good than bad news for how the Flames did during the stretch drive, because we're actually on the cusp of locking up not only the Pacific Division, but the Western Conference as well, which definitely was definitely not expected by many hockey pundits this year. So let's go back to game 73 here. This happened on Tuesday, March 19th there, and after the game against the Winnipeg Jets until this game, the Flames did actually clinch a playoff spot with, I know the Minnesota Wild lost the game there, and they lost the points that we needed to gain to get a playoff spot there. So we knew starting here that we're in the playoffs here, and now it's just building on the Pacific Division, the Western Conference here. So on Tuesday, March 19th, we started a 3-game, or we started a homestand here where we take on the Columbus Blue Jackets here, and so it was a 7 p.m. puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here, and we were anticipating that this was going to be a tough game because the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're in a battle of their own in the Eastern Conference for the second wildcard spot there, as they've been trying to hold off the Montreal Canadiens and the surging Carolina Hurricanes there. But this was also a chance for the Flames to keep pace and gain more ground on the San Jose Sharks here. And I said they did capitalize there. I mean, the Columbus Blue Jackets did actually score first in this game at the 10-minute mark here. Zach Urenke scored before Johnny Gaudreau, 2.5 minutes later, tied things up. And then we had a late goal by Andrew Mangiapane, who suddenly has started getting more comfortable playing in the NHL there. Has been a nice... considering he was drafted in the 6th round back in 2015 here, he's definitely been a nice find there by Brad Treliving, and he's starting to get more comfortable playing the NHL. As said, he scored late in the first period there, so the Flames had a 2-1 lead there after the first period here. And then Michael Frolik, literally 35 seconds into the second period there, gave Calgary a 3-1 lead, and we maintained that throughout the second period there, so it's 3-1 Flames after 2. And then Columbus did come out strong in the third period here. They had an earlier goal by about the 5-minute mark by Oliver Bjorkstrand by the Columbus Blue Jackets to make it 3-2 there, and it stayed 3-2 for the Flames there until Matthew Tkachuk put it away in the last minute there for a 4-2 lead, and the Flames won this game 4-2 there. And then it was Dave Riddick for the Calgary Flames that started in that. He outdueled Sergei Bobrovsky there of the Columbus Blue Jackets here. And the Columbus Blue Jackets just outshot the Calgary Flames 33-31 there. So it's definitely a solid win for the Flames there against the Columbus Blue Jackets. This game was definitely a lot more tame compared to the battle they had back in December there, where it was a 9-6 game. So this definitely was more what you expect for a Tuesday night game against Columbus. More defensive sound game. Well, the note here is that Austin Zardik also chipped in with 2 assists for the Flames there. Plus, keep in mind that this game, Calgary was without Sean Monahan and Sam Bennett there, because they both were feeling, if you recall, they were going into Winnipeg there, a couple players were feeling a little sick there, so they both weren't in, and Alan Klein from the Stockton Heat drew in, so that was definitely one thing to note here. So that was game 73 against the Columbus Blue Jackets there, so we passed that. So game 74, it was on Thursday, March 21st. We were at the Scotiabank Saddledome again, 7 p.m. puck drop, and we were taking on the Ottawa Senators here. We definitely needed to take advantage of the Ottawa Senators there, as they've definitely been a tire fire, as put lightly, or a trash, a dumpster fire as it's been all season, and they definitely traded away at the deadline there. So, but we definitely did took advantage of the Ottawa Senators here. Plus, every time when we play the Ottawa Senators there, the Tkachuk battle is always going to come up with we have Matthew, and Ottawa picked up Brady Tkachuk, 4th overall in this past draft there, and he's actually one of the bright spots for the Ottawa Senators right now already, but it's a lot to put on him. But so anyway, also the note here, Sean Monahan and Sam Bennett actually drew back into the lineup for this game too, so definitely not what the Ottawa Senators want to face here. But despite taking advantage of the Ottawa Senators here, they actually scored first here in this game. At the 4-minute mark, Dylan DeMello scored, and then it was all Flames all the time here. As Mark Giordano, the fenceman, tied it up 4 minutes later, followed by Garnet Hathaway past the 11-minute mark. Garnet Hathaway's also been chipping in with some offense on the 4th line there. So it was 2-1 Flames with the lead after the first period there. And then Angie Piani got on the score sheet once again here. And then second, Michael Backlund, Matt Tkachuk put it away all in the third period there. So with 3 goals there. So we did win this game 5-1 of the Ottawa Senators there, which, they're the bottom team in the league here. And, for one of the top teams in the league, those are definitely games we should have here, especially going in the playoffs here. A lot to highlight in this game is that Matthew Tkachuk, Garnet Hathaway, and Andrew Mangiapane all each had a goal and assist here. And then Derek Ryan and Michael Frolik each chipped in with 2 assists there. I mean, Derek Ryan, he's definitely another guy that, he's been exactly what this team needed, was more depth. The bottom 6 there, and he's been very versatile, and, it's been worth the $3 million that we signed him, well, for 3 seasons, but he's definitely very familiar with Bill Peters over his hockey career, from playing in Carolina, obviously, and then he actually played for him with the Spokane Chiefs in WHL there. So, as I said, the Flames outshot the Ottawa Senators 36-19 here, and totally dominated and took advantage of Ottawa as they're down here. In this game, Mike Smith actually started, and he looked really good, and we outdueled Craig Anderson here, who's one of the few veterans that still is left on the Ottawa Senators there. And even though Sam Bennett got back in the lineup here, he actually got hurt in this game with an injury. And another note here is that our captain, Mark Giordano, he actually surpassed Robin Regehr, because this was his 827th game played in as a Calgary Flame, and that surpassed Robin Regehr for a second in all-time history for most games played as a Flame there. So Mark Giordano still has another 390 or 380 games to go to pass Jerome McGinley, but Mark Giordano, not too bad for a guy who was undrafted, and we just signed him summer 2004, and he's having one heck of a season, and should be considered for the Norris Trophy for top defenseman here. And speaking of Mark Giordano here, Game 75 was on Saturday, March the 23rd. The Calgary Flames went on the road here to Rogers Arena to take on the Vancouver Canucks. That was an 8 p.m. puck drop on Hockey Night in Canada here. And what do you expect when Calgary and Vancouver play each other anytime, especially in the limelight? In Hockey Night in Canada, it was definitely a very, very physical game here. There were definitely a lot of silly stuff after the whistle, but, plus recent history with playoffs that Calgary and Vancouver, it gets very emotional here, and Vancouver was actually still fighting for their very slim playoff hopes at the time here, but as I said, there were definitely a lot of whistles, some coincidental misconducts were given out here, and there were a couple times that the game was 4-4, there was coincidental penalties there. So when I say, speaking of Mark Giordano here, he definitely was the huge star in this game here, as he scored the first goal in the first period there, so it was 1-0 for the Flames there. And then late in the second period, Garnet Hathaway scored. It was kind of a greasy goal, as you call it, a grinder. I mean, Jacob Markstrom, who started for the Vancouver Canucks, he initially had the puck there, but he lost it, and Garnet Hathaway poked it in there, and actually it was a shot from Mark Giordano that Garnet Hathaway's in front of the net there, so Mark Giordano had another point on this game. So it's 2-0 Flames after the second period there. And then going to the third period there, early in the third period there, Johnny Gaudreau had a tough game there because he had a battle with Biega, I think his name is. He actually wound up his own stick, clipped him in the face, and he had some blood there and briefly needed repairs there, but he was yelling at the officials saying, "Where was the high stick?" But it turned out to be his own stick there. But in frustration there, he took an early interference penalty there, and then it was shortly after Brock Besser of the Vancouver Canucks, he blasted one to make it 2-1 for the Calgary Flames there, and that could have potentially shifted the tide over, but ultimately Mark Giordano had a play there where Andrew Mangiapane did score the go-ahead goal, in the middle of the Canucks zone there, but it was Mark Giordano that did all the work, that kept the puck in play at the blue line there and found Andrew Mangiapane, and he made no effort and scored that goal, and the Flames made it 3-1 there, and this is also the third game in a row there that Andrew Mangiapane scored. So it was definitely, those were all the offensive stories, as the Flames did win this game 3-1 here, but all throughout this game too, the fourth line, the guys, Andrew Mangiapane, Garnet Hathaway, and Derek Ryan here, they also, slowed down the Vancouver Canucks there all game, and, one debate you could say is, do the Flames have the best fourth line in the league right now? And those are the guys that, you got your obvious top line here that teams that, go on to win championships, but it's also, those bottom lines that chip in too, with timely goals and slowing down the opposition's top players that win the championships. And right now, this team looks like they have that. But then, things really got silly here late in the game, as I mentioned. Mike Smith, he did start in net for the Flames here. He does have a tendency to go out and play the puck there, but there was a time where he came out to play the puck there, and Alexander Edler, checked Mike Smith from behind the net there, and it looked like a pretty good hit, that enough where his goal mask came off, but Edler was thinking that he faked it there, so he took a goalie interference there, and then in the last minute of the game here, Matthew Tkachuk, he is a pest there, but he's also great at drawing penalties here, because he took a shot in the net there, and Jacob Markstrom looked like he was trying to cover it to freeze it, but then he failed on it, and Matthew Tkachuk was able to take the loose puck away, and then eventually Jacob Markstrom didn't like it / Matthew Tkachuk there, so Jacob Markstrom took a slashing penalty there in the last minute there, so there were no goals out of that, but there were just silly physical penalties late in the game for the Canucks there, but I guess they were also frustrated with, they were behind and losing hope for making the playoffs there. But the fact that Canucks, up to this point of the season, were still in the conversation for potentially making the playoffs should still be considered a success there, is that many pundits said the Canucks were going to be in the cellar this year. But, they look like they have a few good pieces there in the meantime. So, as I say, we won this one 3-1 here. Won 3 straight, and it was definitely a hard-fought game, though. So the Canucks definitely made us work for it, and they've actually had our number up to this point in the season series here. So all games were entertaining there, and if we did happen to draw the Vancouver Canucks, which it's not going to happen because they're out of the playoffs now as of this recording here, it definitely would have been another entertaining series. But it seems like every time we play the Canucks in the playoffs, it's always been entertaining here. So as the other notes in this game, Andrew Mangiapane, as I mentioned, scored in 3 straight games here. But it was Mark Giordano who definitely was the story there. He had a goal and 2 assists, and also Mark Garner-Hathaway had a goal and assist in this game. And then Mike Smith, he had definitely played strong. He had 27 saves to win, and we also shot the Canucks 31-28 here. And with those points that Mark Giordano collected, he had 70 on the season for defensemen here. So I know Brent Burns for the San Jose Sharks is actually the highest scoring defenseman here, but I think when you look at an all-around play, and considering Mark Giordano's 35 here, he definitely needs to be considered for a Norris kind of consideration and actually holding the trophy in the awards here. And then one last thing to note here, James Neal, he finally got back into the lineup after 17 games there, so hopefully maybe a fresh James Neal will pay dividends for us in the playoffs here, considering how much hockey he's played the last few years, because he's been to the finals the last 2 years there. But I still have some faith in James Neal that he will deliver for us in the playoffs here and score some big goals for us. And if we happen to win the Stanley Cup, Mark Giordano will get it first and give it to James Neal, because he's been on the wrong end of 2 championships, but it's only still his first year in Calgary here. But that's my take. So that's Game 75. It was a typical Calgary-Vancouver game. That's another way to sum her up. So Game 76 was on Monday, March 25th. We were taking on the Los Angeles Kings back at home for a 3-game homestand here at the Scotiabank Saddledome. 7 p.m. puck drop, and this is another team that we should take advantage of, because they're the bottom of the Western Conference and eliminated from the playoff contention here. But after this game, we have to be asking, who's this Jack Campbell guy? Because he was definitely doing his best impression of Patrick Waugh or Martin Brodeur in this game, because we couldn't gain ground on the Kings or get any ground on the Pacific in the Western Conference. As the joke goes here, I'm single, but the Flames scored just as much as I did in this game, because we lost this game 3-0 here. It was just frustrating, as I mean, Derek Forbort scored actually in the first minute of the first period here. So it was 1-0 for the Los Angeles Kings until Johnny Brodinski and Tyler Toffoli both scored in the third period in a couple minutes there to make it 3-0 game. And then there was definitely some physical stuff going on in this game because Matthew Tkachuk and Drew Doughty definitely, they don't like each other too much, and they definitely got in on each other's throats there. And then Oscar Vandenberg, remember we got him at the trade deadline from the Los Angeles Kings there for depth on the defenseman there. Well, this was the first time that Oscar Vandenberg was playing his former team, and what did he do? He fought Tyler Toffoli late in the first period there, so definitely gave him a how you do there. Maybe something happened, that they wanted to get out of Los Angeles, or maybe something was said there, but that's just an interesting storyline here. And late in the game, Garnet Hathaway and former Flame Dion Phaneuf there took on sportsmanlike penalties there. I mean, this was definitely a frustrating game for the Flames here. I mean, we had the effort. I mean, we did outshoot the Kings 42-20 here, but did not get any offense and didn't get any ground on the San Jose Sharks there, but the Sharks have actually lost a couple games there, so it basically everything stayed even here. Mike Smith did play actually well for the Flames in this game, but it was Jack Campbell that stole this one on this night there. So definitely frustrating to leave some points on the board there. So game 77, Wednesday, March the 27th, 17:30 puck drop at the Scotiabank Saddledome here. We are taking on another possible first-round opponent here, the Dallas Stars here. And before this game, Bill Peters decided to shake things up a little and break up the top line there. And not too sure if this worked here, because this was definitely another frustrating game here for the Flames here. As actually the Dallas Stars did pull this one out with a 2-1 victory here and actually took the season series here with the Flames here. I think it's unlikely we'll play them in the first round because when I go to the standings here, Dallas is fairly comfortable in the first wildcard spot, so they're likely going to stay in the Central Division part of the bracket there, but I'll set up the bracket when I get to the standings here. But, it was definitely no puck luck here. I mean, the Stars scored first on the power play there with Alexander Radulov. Scored first in the power play, and it stayed 1-0 Dallas until the 12-minute mark of the third period when Mika Heiskanen put the Dallas Stars up 2-0 there, and it looked like, was this another game where I'm going to say the Flames scored just as much as I did? No, actually, TJ Brody ended the drought at the 18.5-minute mark of the third period, so Flames were shut out until almost two full games if you count when was the last time they scored from Andrew goal in Vancouver there, but it was almost two straight games that we were shut out there. But actually, after when TJ Brody tied 2-1 there, the Flames actually put on an effort to tie it up, but they couldn't get it, so eventually we lost the game 2-1 here. It was David Riddick that actually started the net for the Flames here, and Dallas had to actually use both goalies in this game because Ben Bishop did start for the Dallas Stars here, but it wasn't until past the midway point in the second period there he got hurt there, and Anton Khudobin took over there for the rest of the game and placed Ben Bishop here in day-to-day for an injury with Ben Bishop, lower body. That's all you're definitely going to get, especially at this time of year with the Flames. I mean, once again, had a decent effort there. I've shot the Dallas Stars 36-23 here, but didn't get the goals that they needed. And as I said, Dave Riddick had 21 saves, Ben Bishop had 20, and then Anton Khudobin had 15 for the Stars there in that combined effort there. So then we dropped 2 in a row there after winning 3 in a row here. Game 78 was on Friday, March the 29th. This wraps up the 3-game homestand, taking on one of our nemesis, those pests, the Anaheim Ducks at the Scotiabank Saddledome. I gotta do this. I rant about pigeons, but Ducks are just birds, if you ask me. So, the Ducks, they've definitely been pests for the Flames since 2006 here, but definitely a chance to, not only gain some ground on the San Jose Sharks here, but take advantage of the fact that the Ducks are out of playoff contention. Those damn birds, if you ask me. But, we definitely capitalized here big time, and it definitely feels good to get a small ounce of revenge here. As it seems like these previous games here, I'm always reporting that the other team scores first, and actually the Anaheim Ducks did score first here, as Andy Olneski scored his first, and then the Calgary Flames took over, and Mark Giordano tied up 5 minutes later to make it 1-1 after the first period there. And then there was many questions coming into this game as, Sean Monahan hurt. Where the heck is Sean Monahan here? Well, Sean Monahan said, I'm here. Don't worry, I'm fine. He definitely had a big game in this game because he scored the first goal in the second period to give Calgary a 2-1 lead at the 3-minute mark. And then midway through the second period there, James Neal actually tipped in a shot from Sean Monahan to make it 3-1 for the Flames after 2. And then going in the third period here, the fourth line definitely chipped in again with Derek Ryan at the 8-minute mark to make it 4-1. And then Garner Hathaway at the 14-minute mark to make it 5-1. And Sean Monahan put it away in the final minute to give Calgary a 6-1 lead over the Anaheim Ducks. And man, that's just as good because the Anaheim Ducks are just as liked as much as the Vancouver Canucks and the Edmonton Oilers are in this town. So it definitely feels nice to get one over the Ducks, but it's winning there. That's a different story there, but I'll get to that shortly. As overall, the Calgary Flames outshot those birds, or the Anaheim Ducks, 37-22 for an all-around effort, and to shake off the last 2 losses at the home where they couldn't find the offense there, and take this homestand. And then on a positive note here, okay, obviously Sean Monahan led the way with 2 goals and 2 assists, and Derek Ryan was the other Flame with another multi-point game with a goal and assist there. Mike Smith, he has stalled there with the 21 save performance, and then there was Ryan Miller that faced all the music and all the shots from the Flames. He made 31 saves in there. So that's how things went the last 6 games. We went 4-2 there, and we're still keeping pace, and we're still finding ways to win some games when we need to, and ultimately I think we're getting close to clinching both the Pacific and the Western Conference here. And since the league went to the conference format here, this will be the first time ever, because the Calgary Flames have never clinched the Western Conference here, and the last time we won the division title was when we were in the Northwest Division at the time in 2005 and 6 season. The season after the lockout there was the last time the Flames both won the division that they were in and actually had home ice in the playoffs in the first round there. So when it comes to injuries here, Sam Bennett is the only major injury at this point here, and don't hear any word about what it is or when he's return here. So after 78 games here, the Calgary Flames are 48, 23, and 7 with 103 points, 48 wins. That's the second most wins in franchise history, only behind 54 when the Calgary Flames did that in 1988 and 1989, and that was also the year when they won the Stanley Cup there. So right now, this obviously puts us first in the Pacific Division, first in the Western Conference, and we're tied for second overall with the Boston Bruins, as they also have 103 points here. And as I mentioned, the second most wins in franchise history, 54 was the record set in 1988-89, the year we won the Stanley Cup. And then there were a couple of individual team awards I'd like to mention here for the Flames. Travis Hamonic, the fence fair, second straight year he's got the Scurfield Humanitarian Award. I mean, he's definitely been great in the community with his Hamonic Heroes. And then Matthew Tkachuk, got the J.R. McCaig Awards, as far as respect and commitment and leadership in the community there. He definitely has done a lot of work for the Albert Jones Hospital there, so those are a couple of individual team awards that every player on the team gets. And Mark Giordano is the Flames nominee for the Bill Masterton Trophy. It's showing perseverance and dedication to hockey there. Every team nominates someone, so we'll see if maybe Mark Giordano makes the finalist for the Bill Masterton Award here. So what I'm going to do here is that, like I did on my Hitman video, I'm going to go over the player stats, or I'm just going to put the player stats all of it in the description on the next episode when the season's over here. We'll just highlight a couple of the highlights. But let's take a look at the standings here. Well, in the Pacific Division, in 78 games, let's say we have 103 points here, and this clinched the playoff spot. San Jose Sharks are second in 77 games. They have 95 points here, so I think all we need is 2 points either gained or lost by the Sharks to clinch the division and the conference there. San Jose's in the playoffs, and then Vegas Golden Knights in 78 games, they have 90 points. They're in the playoffs. They just clinched the playoff spot last night. Both years they've been in the league, they've made the playoffs there, so that's the top three in the Pacific there. If we look over to the Central Division here, the Winnipeg Jets, 77 games, have 94 points. They're in the playoffs. Nashville Predators, they have 78 games and 94 points. They're in the playoffs. And then St. Louis Blues, they're third place, 77 games played. They have 90 points, and they're in the playoffs here. And then when it comes to the wild card here, the Dallas Stars in 78 games have 88 points. I think they just need a couple points to clinch the playoffs here. And then right now the Colorado Avalanche occupy the second wild card spot in 78 games. They have 85 points here. Teams that I realistically think they have a shot is the Arizona Coyotes, and 78 games have 82 points. Minnesota Wild, I don't think it's looking good for them right now. They in 78 games have 81 points, and they are 5 points back of Colorado. I'm just going to say Colorado and Arizona, I know they play each other this weekend, so that's definitely a huge game here. So setting up the playoff bracket right now, the Calgary Flames would actually take on the Colorado Avalanche, and I actually would like that as a first round matchup. I definitely think we'd match up well there. I'd also be fine with Arizona. Teams that I would like to avoid in the first round would be either the Dallas Stars, but I think they're comfortably in the first wild card there. That I don't think that's likely, and the Vegas Golden Knights, because they've definitely been on a roll there. So those are the two teams I don't want in the first round, is Dallas and Vegas. I'd be fine with Colorado or Arizona. So that's the Pacific part of the bracket there. So the Central, or San Jose, will take on the Vegas Golden Knights. They're the 2-3 matchup. So Calgary will take on Colorado, if this were to be the stands now, and San Jose will take on Vegas. For the Central Division part of the bracket here, the Winnipeg Jets would take on the Dallas Stars. Winnipeg will host Dallas, and the Nashville Predators will host the St. Louis Blues. That would be the Central Division part of the bracket there for the Western Conference here. So if you shift our focus to the Eastern Conference here, the Atlantic Division here, well, in 77 games, the Tampa Bay Lightning have 122 points and clinched the President's Trophy, but I think they had that clinched like last month here. They actually have 59 wins. So they could potentially beat the 1995-96 Detroit Red Wings, who had 62 wins that year. That's the record there. 132 points. I think it was the around the mid-70s there. I know the Montreal Canadiens had 132 points in the standings there. I don't think the Tampa Bay Lightning is going to get 132 points, but they're definitely well ahead. They've been well ahead all season here. And then second place, the Boston Bruins. They have 77 games, 103 points, and they're in the playoffs. Third place in 77 games, the Toronto Maple Leafs have 97 points. They actually haven't clinched the playoff spot yet. But I think they're on the cusp of getting in anyway, because the Eastern Conference is definitely stronger, and you're going to see one team missing the playoffs in the Eastern Conference that has more points than teams in the West this year. So that's the top three in the Atlantic. The Metropolitan, you got Washington in 78 games, have 100 points. They've clinched. And then the New York Islanders are second in 78 games at 97 points. They're not clinched yet, but they're pretty damn close. And same with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're pretty close. In 78 games, they have 95 points. So that's the top three in the Metropolitan there. And then when it comes to the wild card here, the Carolina Hurricanes have the first wild card in 77 games. They have 91 points there, and I like their chance. Well, it's the way they've been going, I still like their chances of getting in. And then the Columbus Blue Jackets in 77 games had 90 points there in the final wild card spot here. And the team outside looking in that really has a shot is the Montreal Canadiens. In 78 games, they have 90 points there. But I think I still like Carolina and Columbus more than Montreal to get in. And I mean, the Philadelphia Flyers is the next team. They have 77 games. They have 82 points. They're 92 is the most they can get. So that's pretty much the cutoff there. And I don't think the Flyers are gonna. They need to run the table and hope a couple teams lose to. That's not happening, I don't think. So to set up the Eastern Conference bracket here for the Atlantic Division, the Tampa Bay Lightning will take on the Columbus Blue Jackets, and then you'll have the Boston Bruins hosting the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that'd be the Atlantic side of the bracket there. The Metropolitan here, you'll have the Washington Capitals hosting the Carolina Hurricanes, and then you have the Islanders hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins there. So that would be the Metropolitan side of the bracket there. So I think another way I'm going to say is I'm confident on this 13 out of 16 teams right now that are in the playoff spot will make the playoff spot. They're pretty safe because they only need 2 wild cards in the West here, and pretty much the top 3 in each division in the East are likely going to get in, and a couple wild cards are still highly contested in the East there, but still got a week to go here in the regular season, and a lot could still happen, but some of these matchups look like they're almost set. So looking ahead here, this will be a 4-game episode for episode 15 here, because there's only 4 games left in the regular season here. So game 79 will be Sunday, March 31st. This will definitely be a huge one here, as the Calgary Flames are on the road. They get to go to California here next week. As at first they are at the SAP Center at 6 p.m. puck drop to take on the San Jose Sharks. I know the San Jose Sharks tonight are playing the Vegas Golden Knights, and I believe if the Vegas Golden Knights beat the San Jose Sharks in regulation, we would clinch the Pacific and the Western Conference tonight. But let's just say whoever wins. Let's say if we win tomorrow, we got the Pacific and the Western Conference locked up here. I mean, 2 is the magic number here. And then that's game 79, game 80. Monday, April 1st, no joke. No pun intended, but we go to the southern part of California to take on the Los Angeles Kings, 8 p.m. puck drop at the Staples Center there. Hopefully we can get some revenge there. Hopefully Jack Campbell, looks like Jack Campbell that looked like up the road in Edmonton there after he stoned us here. So hopefully these are just tune-up games. Then Wednesday, April 3rd, Birds. We're taking on the Anaheim Ducks at the Honda Center. The Tower Terror there, 8:30 puck drop there. They say Disneyland is home to the happiest place on the earth, but don't tell that to the Calgary Flames there, because we seem to struggle in that building there, but hopefully, another playoff tune-up and maybe exercise some demons there. And then game 82, the final game of the regular season here. Unfortunately, it's not what we were hoping it was going to be at the start of the year, but the Flames finish it off at home against the Edmonton Oilers, 8 p.m. puck drop, Scotiabank Stadium. Hockey Night in Canada there. Unfortunately, there won't be a Battle of Alberta in the playoffs this year, but there'll still be an interesting game there. I mean, it depends on where the standings are, but it doesn't seem to matter every time you have the Flames, Canucks or Flames and Oilers play each other. It's always an interesting game and a battle. So, and the other thing I should have mentioned in the opening there is that actually the Calgary Flames, all home games in the playoffs, will be wearing their retro gear, which I think is awesome. And I think this is opening the door to the Calgary Flames to ultimately go back to wear their retros all the time. I just say we need to bring back the old whites too and wear those on the road there. But anyway, that's my Calgary Flames in 6 here, episode 14 there. If you enjoy everything I do on my YouTube channel, just make sure you hit like, subscribe there, and as I'll say, there'll be episode 15 next week for recapping the regular season there, and then I guess episode 16 I'll do a first round series preview with whoever we draw there, and then episode 17 will be recapping the first round, hopefully as winners and advancing there, and I'll keep this thing going on until hopefully get to the finals and win the Stanley Cup here. And it's still, legitimate to say we might actually have a chance to win the Stanley Cup here. So, this is my Calgary Flames in 6 there, and so thank you for watching along there. Go Flames go, and definitely looking forward to the playoffs here, and as I always say, I'll see you at the next video here next week when we wrap up the 2018-19 regular season here.